get it.
Mbijan raganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
That's sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere to. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi man domorol ni fana beteata. Gambia Dawda Jallow nga kumfa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
baraka. Ni waka ni na lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalla bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalla ndel chosano lo.
Baraka.
Him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Biliomatic exercise book printing machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books and all kinds of printed documents plus items at affordable prices. With the Biliomatic printing machine, GPPC can now render high quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
Welcome to the brunch on Kerr Fatou Live. I'm Lamin Cham. This is your weekly look at current affairs of events in the Gambia. This week, I am pleased to have in the studio the Honorable Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the Honorable Dawda Jallow. Now, over the last 3 years, of course, the Gambia has been in the limelight, mainly because of one thing, transitional justice was among them, and of course, that include, of course, the TRRC and the constitutional review matters, as well as several reforms to our way of doing things. So we will discuss all that. But first of all, this is the first time the Honorable Minister is coming into the studio. Welcome, Honorable.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chan.
Good. First of all, I want to inform our listeners that the Honorable Minister took over the office from the Honorable Ba Tambido in July 2020. We will discuss, since he took over and now, all what has happened and what is pending, or what are his priorities as we go on to 2023 and 2024. First of all, to a layman, what is the mandate of the Ministry of Justice? Because we do hear, okay, the Minister of Justice, the chief legal advisor to the government. So if the government got anything wrong legally, people should blame people such as yourself. But first, we must know, what is your job?
Thank you, Lamin. The Ministry of Justice is a very big ministry. I think many people don't know all the departments in the ministry. But primarily, like you said, the Constitution says the Attorney General is the chief legal advisor to the government of the Gambia. So if I would put it in simple terms, the chamber is both a law chamber and a ministry, like other ministries in government. So the chamber, you can only equate it to normal law firms. So we are more or less like the legal chamber.
Yeah, that's why you hear Attorney General's chamber.
Yes.
So in that respect, you are also a law firm, but for the government.
For the government. For the public. Right. So we file cases on behalf of government in court. We defend cases on behalf of government in court.
That's why you see people read in newspapers that Attorney General was represented by so and so.
Yes. So because we have about close to 50 lawyers.
I'm sure you don't even know most of the cases you have been.
No. Yeah.
You have been represented.
Yeah, because there are various departments. We have a civil litigation department and we have a criminal division. These are the departments that are usually very involved in going to court. Criminal division deals with only criminal matters, and the civil division deals with civil matters.
People who don't understand your job think that you are the one wanting people to be in trouble all the time.
No, actually, if you look at it in another way,
they didn't know you are representing the public.
In fact, Lamin, we are doing it on behalf of the public.
That's it.
Because people that we prosecute are people who have alleged to have committed a crime. And a crime is what collectively all of us as a society codified to say these are unacceptable conduct in society. So if people are in breach of those codes, we are assigned the task of prosecuting them to make sure they pay for the crimes that they have committed. So we are doing this on behalf of people.
Yeah, that's true. So let's go through all the direct departments in your district and where you have oversights. Can we have a list of them?
Yes, the ministry had 6 departments.
Okay.
You have civil and international law department, like I hinted earlier.
Okay.
You have the criminal division department or the criminal department.
Right.
You have the legislative drafting department. They draft legislations. All the legislations that you see going to parliament go through that department.
Okay.
We also have the curator of interstate estate department.
Okay, that's right.
Many people go there to deal with estates of deceased persons. Usually people who die without a will. But they deal with other kinds of estates also, where letters of administration have been issued in favor of the curator. We also have the department in charge of companies and business registry. The registrar of companies. We have the registrar general department.
Yes.
The Registrar General Department have registries under him, about 3 registries. You have the marriage registry, you have the intellectual property registry, and also you have the deeds registry.
Oh, the title deeds.
Title deeds.
That is lease lands and
leases and contracts and mortgages and all those kind of deeds are registered with him. Even power of attorneys.
Power of attorneys. That's the Registrar General's job.
That's the General Department.
Okay.
So these are departments within the ministry in Banjul.
Okay.
We also have oversight responsibility over a couple of institutions, about 5 of them. We have the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons, NATIP.
NATIP,
We have the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat. We also have an oversight function over the National Agency for Legal Aid.
NALAC.
Yes, and then we have the Law Reform Commission, and then the National Council for Law Reporting.
So it's a big ministry.
It's a very big ministry. But many people only think we are in court either defending a land matter or civil matter or prosecuting somebody.
I see.
But we are very busy doing other things at the ministry.
Okay. Now when you took office in July 2020, The Gambia, of course, had come out from 22 years of very difficult times. There were problems. And then the new government wanted to carry out a lot of reforms, and most of them touched on the area of justice. And you came over after Mr. Tambidu left. You came through at a time when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission had already started and was sitting. The Constitutional Review Committee was also on, or gazetted perhaps. And then you have the case against Myanmar. That was another thing. And then, of course, you had the privilege, or whether, I don't know whether you call it a privilege, but for receiving and publishing the government white paper. But let's go back. When you came to 2020, what were immediately the problems you tackled or you faced, and how have you fared, particularly the TRRC and the Constitutional Review Committee?
It was difficult. I remember the first interview I granted was to the late Alaji Koli of West Coast Radio, of blessed memory. May Allah be pleased with his blessed soul. And I remember telling him in that interview that at that moment I felt like I was taking over a ship in stormy waters. And I had the responsibility of sailing that ship to safe shores.
To calmer waters.
So that was the situation, because then the constitution, the draft constitution, was already gazetted and was ready to be tabled at the National Assembly. And we all knew the various political interests that was at play at the time. So I had the difficult task of having to go and defend that draft constitution, which was already, the fate of which was already determined.
By
the disagreements over it. Because, I say this, we focused on the product.
Okay.
But in my view, I think we did not pay much attention to the political process that could lead to the product. So the process, that could give birth, should have given birth to the document.
Should have been politically handled.
Yes.
You mean the rancor among the politicians, that's what led to the...
Because you need some form of political consensus in any country to have a new constitution. So, because politicians are the ones that control parliament. So if they disagree and their disagreements could not be resolved, then the fate of the document, and any bill for that matter, not only the constitutional.
You were particularly criticized for not diligently defending the constitution. They accused you because, of course, the cabinet had their position on the constitution. The cabinet being the president and his colleagues, such as yourself, you had a view that certain aspects, for example, to say that the second mandate of the president, that is, should start immediately after the constitution come to power, or rather, whoever was in State House on the day the constitution was adopted should have been considered to have that, to serve a term. And they said that would be discriminatory to not just the present government, but whoever was in State House, it would have been discriminatory to that. So cabinet had that position. You were part of the cabinet. That's why they said you did not diligently defend that in the National Assembly. So you watch the MPs there. You didn't convince them like you used to do with other bills. You did not convince them, and the politicians, like you said, voted as the signal, according to the signal they received from cabinet, such as yourself.
Yeah, maybe we can move us to what we are doing now. This is 2 years, close to 3 years ago now. The thing is, in my view at the time, they've made up their mind.
Already.
The National Assembly members have made up their mind. So,
but on some bills, we had you pushing, trying to justify what is the way. You didn't do that on that occasion.
You have to look at the time when I took over office. This is, even in my taking over briefing, I was informed that this constitution, I don't think you can do anything about it.
The politicians have already made
it. Yes. They've made up their mind. So,
but at least you must be seen to be, pushing it, because there are everybody pressed that the constitution was very good. There are laudable things there.
What people didn't realize, Lamin, was it's not only the retrospective clause that was the problem. There were some issues in the constitution that they still have disagreements over, and up to date they have disagreement over,
such as the secular.
So we later commenced a political dialogue where I brought all the political leaders together. And then that was the time you saw the former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan coming in and out of the country, which culminated into a high-level political dialogue in Abuja, where we took all the political
But they couldn't
leaders.
still agree.
No. In Abuja, they more or less agreed on most of their differences, except, if I could remember properly, that was the retrospective clause, because that was the elephant in the room at the time. But we are about to start the process again.
Yeah, that's what we are coming to that. Okay, so in hindsight, you think the constitution could have been voted out? You wished it had been voted on at the time?
Yes. The constitutional process, I think I could take this opportunity to share or enlighten the viewers.
Yeah.
That the hurdle at the National Assembly as it stands is one level. If we had passed it, and we hope probably when we relaunch the process, we will pass that stage now. But we have even a bigger hurdle at the referendum level.
Yes, that's right.
And I think important we start preparing the mind of the public, because the current constitution requires that a constitution that will replace it would require a referendum, a voter turnout of 50%.
Yeah.
And out of that 50% voter turnout, you would need at least 60% of the voters to say yes.
Yes. That is a mammoth task.
Yes. So again, we would need the consensus of the politicians here, because both sides of the divide need to work very hard to convince and
galvanize their
supporters to vote in favor of the constitution. So it's not only at the National Assembly level. Even after the National Assembly, there is another hurdle that we need to cross.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But then the contentious issues remains, like the retrospective clause on as far as the presidency is concerned. How do you address that now?
I don't think that clause. I think it has outlived its purpose.
It has outlived its purpose now.
Yes.
Because what happened was everybody was looking at the 2021.
Exactly, because this was before the December elections. We've left that behind us now.
But is it not a shame that as it is now, there's no term limit, even though the president and your government have said you are very keen on respecting term limits, but it is open now. So how sincere is your commitment to 2 terms when the constitution is still open?
Well, I can only quote my president.
Yeah, he said.
He said he's committed to 2 terms.
But how is it possible when the book...
I am not the president. But the constitution will still have a 2-term limit. The 2-term is one of the most important provisions in that constitution.
So the problem remains, when will it start?
Of course, yes. So the
president can go for another term and said, okay, I'm still committed to 2 terms, so this one is not counted.
I don't want to speak for the president, but I know the constitution, if it is going to be passed, it will definitely have 2 terms.
2 terms.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's go to the TRRC. Yes, you had the privilege, I don't know whether it was a privilege or because it was another big task, of receiving the conclusion and even publishing the white paper. So when you came, at the TRRC, what did you find and how were you able to, like you said, sail through up to its conclusion now?
It was a bit difficult because I found the hearings were going on.
Yes.
Not long into my tenure, I think I experienced the resignation of the lead counsel.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
All right. And then the executive secretary also resigned, but eventually we were able to convince him to come back to help us see through the commission. And but
then, of course, much of the work has been done. At the time, the lead counsel...
No, the report was yet to be done.
But the lead counsel's...
No, I don't want to comment on the merit of his departure. Or not.
Okay.
And I'm not blaming him. He's entitled to leave. Any job, everybody is entitled to leave.
Okay.
But you ask me what are some of the issues.
But ideally, he should have stayed there until everything's over.
Let me leave that to the audience.
That's what I think.
Yes, I'll leave that to the audience. But that's one challenge for me when I took over the work of the TRRC. The lead counsel left, the executive secretary actually left, but we were able to convince him to stay. Then the issue of them having to wrap up came up. So we had to give even extension and another extension. Eventually, fast forward, report was done and submitted. We received it. And we had I think a 1-month period to publish it and a 6 months period to come up with a white paper.
Exactly.
Thank God we did a white paper. It was out. And I believe by and large, the public is happy with the white paper because we accepted majority of more than 95% of the recommendations were all accepted. So then this led us to the next phase. Having accepted the recommendation, what next? That is to implement them. So that was what we were working on throughout, and I'm happy to inform the audience that the implementation plan draft is ready. We've already shared it with our partners. Yesterday was the deadline to receive feedbacks from our partners, both in the civil society and in the diplomatic community. So by next week, we will be working on cleaning it and then printing it, and then we will be launching the implementation plan after Ramadan.
Well, there were, I think you had some provisional implementation, so to speak. People were keen to know whether you have sent on leave people who are serving in the government or in places that they have been alleged to have carried out some misdemeanor.
We did.
Has that been done? Like
we did.
All of them gone now?
That is the feedback we got, because as a ministry, by implementing it, we write to the agencies and departments they are working in. So we wrote to all of them and informed them that those individuals are supposed to immediately proceed on leave until we finally determine the way we are going to separate with them, whether it will be by means of dismissal or termination or retirement. That is to be determined. But and the feedback I got, everybody adversely mentioned and is serving has step aside as of now.
Okay, and then of course in that white paper also there's the big problem is prosecution. I mean, let's start with the case of the junglers. I mean, people were really amazed that junglers who themselves have admitted to heinous crimes have been released from detention, even though of course there have been pressure on the government to release or to charge them to court. How did you handle that?
It's difficult. In fact, you asked at the early part of this interview as to what were some of my challenges. One of the challenges I inherited was the 3 junglers that were on prolonged military detention without being charged. Because on the one end, the victims and those sympathetic to the situations of the victims, like you're asking now, are not happy seeing these junglers walking the streets.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, we were under pressure that we say we are under a democratic dispensation. Why should we be detaining people for years without charging them? So it was a difficult situation for me. Eventually, we settled to release them, but the release is temporal.
They could have escaped. They could have gone.
You know, the good thing about the world is a global community now. There are certain crimes, if you are accused of it, you will never get a safe shelter anywhere. You know, the long arms of justice.
But there are still who've been accused that they are still at large.
That's what we now need to talk about our approach to the prosecution of the era crimes. Then you will see what is our global plan.
I see.
Because we do not want to take the piecemeal approach.
Okay.
All right. So I am on the verge of setting up Office of a Special Prosecutor that will deal with only the TRRC-related crimes. And that holistic approach will deal with the whole situation.
Does that include, of course, those who have been away, have not come?
Of course, the prosecutor will have a broad mandate. He will decide first. There is a prosecution policy. And this prosecutor too will be independent. And he will have the prosecutorial discretion.
He'll be Gambian? Or it could be any nationality?
We prefer it to be a Gambian. But because that office will have to have some international qualifications, because some of the crimes that they will be involved in prosecuting are going to be international crimes.
I see.
So we prefer to have Gambians. We know Gambians out there. We have a couple of Gambians who are qualified to handle such an office. But if we can't find a Gambian, we want the job done well. So we will go for the best candidate. But coming back to that, we have a prosecution. We're developing a prosecution policy with respect to Jammeh crimes. We have got an advisory already through a consultancy. The prosecutor will decide as to who he will prosecute, who he would either plea bargain with so that they can be used as witnesses, and who in his view probably he will not prosecute. That will entirely be a prosecutorial discretion. That will be entrusted to that professional.
I see.
Yes. So,
and how soon is this prosecutor's office coming up?
Currently, in our collaboration with the Gambia Bar Association, they have taken drafting instructions from me.
Okay.
And the bar has offered to draft the legislation that will create that office.
Okay.
So hopefully soon we will get a zero draft that will be open for consultation and go through the normal legislative development process.
Ah, okay. There, of course. Okay, does this include the main suspect, the former President Jammeh himself? Because there have been talks about hybrid court in somewhere in Ecowas State.
So I spoke about the prosecutor's office.
Yeah.
But it takes two to have this or more. The other organ would be the chamber that will conduct the trial itself. So we intend to set up a hybrid court, which I've been public about already. I have traveled to ECOWAS and approached the ECOWAS Commission and followed it up with a formal written request. And they've responded in writing. They have accepted our partnership to partner with us to set up this hybrid tribunal. The idea is it will be set up within the Gambian judiciary.
But where will hearings be?
That's what I'm saying. So most of the hearings will be held in the Gambia.
Okay.
But this court will have the ability to change its locus where necessary.
Where necessary.
So nothing will stop the court from going to hear certain cases in Accra, in Dakar, in Abuja. I'm just giving examples.
Yeah, within
so
ECOWAS.
It will be a flexible kind of court that, where necessary, it deems it necessary, it can move its seat to another location.
Place. Yeah.
If that will be expedient to hearing of the specific matter, they're handling. So we are setting up a joint technical working group, multi-sectoral at Gambia level.
Okay.
Then this will collaborate with the technical team in ECOWAS to quickly work together and advise both the ECOWAS Commission and the government of the Gambia as to the modalities of setting up this hybrid tribunal.
Just like the constitution reform thing, this other thing also have political implications. Political, you cannot take it out. You are not a politician. That's why sometimes when you talk, people feel that you are talking even to the detriment of your government. I mean, your government is in alliance with people who are sympathetic at least before, sympathetic to President Jammeh. And there have been talks that, any attempt to try him here will cause instability. And people accuse your government of dragging its feet on anything about prosecuting Jammeh. Until recently now, perhaps after the elections, now you're talking very vocally and straightforward that you're going to prosecute it. Before your government was scared of saying that. Your president went to his village, actually. People said, in an attempt to get him, to support it. At that time, you were not bold enough to say you were going to prosecute Jammeh. Why now? Now you're very bold because election is gone.
I'm not too sure how accurate that statement is, because Jammeh to be prosecuted has been said repeatedly, even before I assume office.
Yeah, but people were confused that when you were saying he's going to be prosecuted, and you're whining and dining with the people who are very much his lieutenants, who are very much in solidarity with, and even saying that they're going into alliance with the government for the interests of Jammeh.
I can speak for the policy that I'm in charge of. I'm the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General, and as far as I'm concerned, the government policy is those crimes will be prosecuted irrespective of who did what.
Now, before there was not that keen or enthusiasm about it.
Well, maybe that question can be directed elsewhere, but the policy has never sifted at the Ministry of Justice.
Ah, very good. All right, let's talk now about, because these are transitional, you have adequately addressed them. I'm surprised that in such a short time. But are there any other things left now? For example, we did with the hybrid court, we did with the special prosecutor, we did with TRRC.
Yeah, with the TJ, with the TRRC recommendations, you can categorize them broadly into about 4 components.
I didn't touch reparations. I'm coming. Yes.
So I will now do that.
Coming. Yes.
So you have the justice and accountability bit, which a lot of people are focusing on, and that is prosecution.
Yeah.
That's accountability, justice and accountability. Of course, this is very important because we need to send a signal out there that impunity will not be condoned. And the only way to send that message out there is those who bears the greatest responsibility of the violations should be prosecuted and will be prosecuted. Okay. So if we put that one aside, the TRRC recommendations are very broad.
Yeah.
They involve reparations for victims. They involve reforms, and these reforms can be looked at into institutional reform and legislative reform.
Okay.
Of course, the two are very closely linked because certain institutions, for them to reform, their legislations too have to be reformed first.
Yeah.
And then there is also a peace and reconciliation component, part of their recommendation. So with respect to reparation for victims, there is a victims bill.
Yes.
That have now drafting completed, validated, and is in cabinet.
Okay.
So now awaiting cabinet approval. Hopefully, maybe next cabinet or so, depending on the agenda on the cabinet.
Next sitting of parliament, not next cabinet.
No, cabinet.
Next cabinet meeting.
That's right. It has to
get
cabinet's approval.
Next cabinet meeting.
Yeah, so
you had said next cabinet, and that involved elections and probably change.
Okay. Well, that's the way we.
That's what you said. So next cabinet sitting.
Yeah, next cabinet sitting or meeting. We will be looking at the vetting.
Do you know that the victims are already out of patience? I mean, not long ago, I saw victims talking very, very, very...
Justifiably so.
They are running out of victims.
Yes.
Not only are they not happy that it's taking long time, but they didn't like the structures or the system that the TRRC came with. I mean, they find that the amount of money the TRRC allocated or earmarked for compensation is just too small.
Yeah, but the agency that we'll be creating under the victims bill will have the mandate to look at all that. So they are not going to be bound by the quantum of compensation earmarked by TRRC for various categories of injuries.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
So this commission will have an unfettered mandate to look into that and say, for example, I understand the TRRC said if somebody loses his life, it's $1 million.
$500,000.
Oh, it's $500,000.
600,000. Between 600,000.
Wow. Okay, so
disappearance. That is in various cases. I saw disappearance cases 600,000, and maybe outright, murder, maybe 1 million or so.
Maybe you are a victim, so you know this better than
Well,
me.
yes,
Right.
and I listen to them and I talk to them all the time. So,
but let me emphasize, the agency is not going to be bound by that.
Okay.
This is going to be purely victim-led. So victims will work with that succeeding agency. Hopefully it will be up and running soon. And that agency can revise those...
the victims want it revised because they said the monies that they act to are just too small. In fact, a pittance when it compared to what is up. Even the president said by your government itself, for example, the Faraba cases, victims who lost their lives were supposed to get $1 million. In the case of some journalists or some people who went to the ECOWAS court in Abuja, they got, 1 point something or $2 million plus, compared to 100,000, 70,000, 30,000 that the TRS recommended. They said that is grossly inadequate and will not help in the reconciliation process. So
we will trust the capacity of the agency we are going to set up, and then they would standardize this. And our policy as a government is we don't want to play a role in this. We would leave it to be as impartial and as objective as possible.
How much money do you have for this purpose?
Reparation is not a one-off thing.
Yeah.
So it will be an annual recurring budget in the national budget. And also development partners will be invited to chip in because we are going to create a victims fund to be managed by that agency, not government. So whatever government budgets were budgeted for a year, it will be putting that money into the fund. And partners who want to support victims through that agency too chips in their contribution, and the agency will be administering out to the victims. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. It's not going to be...
Do you have anything in the current budget?
Yes.
How much?
I think in the range of $165 million it has been put aside.
For when the commission or whatever came up.
Yes, so that when they are set up, they will hit the ground running. Yes.
I hear that there are other victims that probably might not have been captured by the TRS.
Yes. There are victims who were not registered by the TRRC, either because some of them don't want to at the time, or for certain other stigma reasons.
Or they want to come public because they thought probably they would...
Maybe because of stigma and other issues, they couldn't come forward. So as a result, if you see the draft bill, we've given this agency the mandate to receive applications from potential victims, and of course they will have their objective way of assessing it, and they can receive and designate new victims, and then they will be part of the package. Because, I mean, I think I said this in Parliament, to be a victim should not be defined by who appeared before the commission. To be a victim, I think the criteria is what happened to you.
What happened to you? What
so if you can
establish
prove and convince objective person that something actually happened to you, you are a victim. It doesn't matter whether you appeared before the commission or not. So we don't want to shut the door at them. Yeah.
I mean, the victims are concerned that, well, of course, you deal with them every day, but they said the President of the Republic have never visited them formally, officially, and they believe that that tantamount to having lack of interest in their plight. Why can't you get Barrow at least to come one day and meet them? There's no difficulty in that.
There are many institutions and important places that President Barrow.
Yeah, but this one is a special thing. I mean, they are trying to say that he didn't want to meet them. He meets politicians. He meets other people. In fact, he meets with people that they accused of causing their plight. Yet he will not meet them.
I don't remember receiving a request from the victims either to want to see them.
But do they have to request, or the president have to understand that
to see them? You know, it's either way. I'm now answering you. When you ask a question, let me answer.
Okay.
It's either way. If Barrow is not visiting them, they can opt to visit Barrow. That's one. Two, when I took over office, the first institution I visited is the Victim Center. Yes.
Yeah, no, for you, there's no problem. But they want the president.
The president to visit them?
Yes, because that's what they said.
All right. That's something.
And before he can wine and dine with people they thought caused their problems, he should have reached out to them.
What do you mean by that?
Well, of course, you know, he went to Canela in 2021.
Yeah,
and where did he go? To who did he go? He went to the former president's house. The former president is suspected to have caused all the problems to the victims. If he had what I would call the concept to go and visit that person, the people who are crying because of that person, he didn't bother to see them.
I don't think it would be
fair. So
the
criticism is valid.
I don't think it would be fair to categorize his president's...
Well, that's what the victim said anyway.
Let me just land. It wouldn't be fair to categorize President's trip to Canela as he was visiting the former president.
He went to his house.
No, he might have gone to his house.
He said because he's a former president.
And because he was in Canela. But his trip to Canela, you are a journalist, you should know that. That was not the reason why he went to Canela.
Why did he went there for?
I think it has to do with a mission linked to the Ministry of Higher Education.
You forgot? He was going on the provinces. He went there, went to see the president, and told the journalists that he came here because the former president is a former president. He deserved it. He greeted the family. Everybody saw that.
No. You know, you're not hearing me. I'm not saying he
Well, there could be other part, but this one also was there.
All right, fine. But there's a main reason why he went.
Maybe the main reason was what I've just said. The other one is the secondary one.
It could be the other way around.
Okay, there we go. But anyway, the victims want him to come to them. Can't you make it possible? I mean, there's no difficulty in that.
You know you are biased in this discussion.
No, I'm not biased.
You are a victim.
No, but I didn't put that for. I'm talking about all the victims.
I'm putting it forward so that the viewers will know you are
No. I'm talking about the victims.
Now, where your
I've never quoted myself.
No, where your journalism cap here so that we do the work.
I am a journalist.
Okay, let's do the work
I didn't mention me. You mentioned me as victim.
I have to make your viewers know that you are a victim.
All right, let's move forward.
Thank you.
But don't you think they are right in suggesting that he should come? You, of course, every day you deal with them. That's true. But then they want himself to come.
Okay, I had you.
Okay, there you go. So let's move on. Recently, you made a lot of success in the National Assemblies. A lot of your bills, which I must said was delayed by the previous assembly, who said you deliberately did not come to the parliament, and your bills were put aside by way of punishment. Now some of them have come through. Notably, of course, the access to information bill, the anti-torture bill, and what else? Put those through. What would you say was the most successful time in your last?
Okay, I think part of the credit goes to that very fifth legislature.
Oh, that you had problems with.
I'm not sure whether I call it problems.
Well, they said you deliberately
did. They were my friends. Actually, what actually happened? I think I had a short trip to Dakar.
Okay.
But my office, the department that interfaces the ministry with the parliament, inadvertently did not see our schedule for that day.
I see.
And this was, I think, believed to be their last session before they...
they were dissolved. Yeah.
So
They were angry with you. They thought you deliberately did not come.
No, but they knew until that time I don't miss their session. So. But they passed the access to information bill, which is a very great success as far as my ministry is.
Well, where is that state now? Because the problem we had is, because I am very particularly interested in that, access to information bill. But let me tell you that even now it's very difficult to get public officials to give information readily available to people. So there's still
the Ministry of Information is the sector ministry that should be implementing the legislation.
Well, let me tell you that you should tell them now. This time. But then, of course, they will find it. I'm talking now, for example, I want to go to the central bank now. I want information that the bank will say, no, we don't share those information, even if it is public. Permanent secretary can say, no, I don't talk to journalists. You have to write a letter to me to ask. So, I mean, where is the access you're talking about now?
Well, asking you to comply with procedure for asking for information is different from denying you information. So if somebody asks you your right, the person is not saying, I'm not giving you information. He said, this is the way you should request. So I don't know which one is your problem.
But is that the bureaucracy you want to eliminate by getting this bill so that
not necessarily. There are certain information you get them. There should be evidence of request itself. So if they're asking you to write.
You don't think they can still have said, oh, no, we don't share this information, this is classified or whatever?
I don't want to speak for people that I don't know what their position is, but I know that even under the Access to Information Act itself, it's not all information that will be readily made available. So there are different categories of information.
Minister, I ask you, said, for example, in Parliament, that I cannot have the list from you directly of those who purchase Jammeh's properties. And you said there's access to information. That should be public information. You are the first who said you will not make it available.
No.
So where's the access to information?
All right, now let's get this right.
Well then, okay, let's go.
You've not asked me about the list.
You said you will not give it.
Let me tell you what I said in
Parliament. Before I can, you were very clear that you were not going to give it to you. You were only going to give it to Parliament.
No. I did not say that.
You said...
So let's get things right.
Okay, let's go. Oh, so I want the list. Can you have it? Can I have it?
Of course. Well, you...
I'm making a public request. I want to have the list now.
Of course, why not?
Okay, so after the show.
I provided the list to the parliamentarians.
Okay. Oh, you already did it?
I did that. What I told Parliament was, I'm not very comfortable. And I was not hiding behind any statute.
You said the people who bought the properties, they also deserve some privacy and requested for it.
Okay, so you got me.
Yeah.
So I provided them the list because I cannot tell Parliament I wouldn't give you the list.
Okay.
So I gave them the list.
Oh.
All right?
Okay.
What I told the Speaker, I said, with your permission, Speaker.
Okay.
And Speaker granted it. I said, with your permission, I'll choose not to read the names on the floor of the Parliament facing the cameras. But of course, the list is here. Once you are in possession of it, they are your representatives.
We know, but why wouldn't you come and read it out as you do with other things?
My answer was given on the floor. I mean, let's look at something else. I gave my answer on the floor.
But why?
Coming to access to information bill itself. Yeah. I mean, I think the sector ministry, like I said, is the Ministry of Information. Yeah. You can find out from them.
Well, these are troubles we find. And then, of course, torture, anti-torture bill.
Yes.
What is the significance of? Because everybody had told that torture, whether it happened last year or there, is a crime against humanity. Are you telling me that before now, the Gambia government have never recognized that this is a crime?
We have a provision in the Constitution under Chapter 4. That's where human rights are guaranteed.
Yes.
That no human being should be subject to torture and degrading human treatment. That provision is there, it's stopped there. But we do not have any provision that criminalizes it in our statutes. Okay? So, of course, torture is customary international law. That means if you commit it, and it enjoys universal jurisdiction worldwide. So if you're accused of torture, even if you commit the torture in a country like the Gambia, that do not criminalize or does not criminalize torture, you can still be charged with that offense in a country where it is an offense, and you can be prosecuted.
Okay.
I think it's a great achievement that now we criminalize it. The difference is we can now prosecute torture offenses like we prosecute other offenses in our domestic courts.
Okay.
So if we don't have that in our statutes, we could not have.
But is it going to be, how do you people retrospective, or how do you call it? It's going to apply to those
so, okay, this is the answer. The torture allegations that we are going to prosecute, the ones alleged under the TRRC, that is the reason why we are partnering with ECOWAS, so that the court will have an international jurisdiction.
I see.
To enforce international law. So we are going to charge them under the international law.
I see.
So the prosecution is not going to be section so of the Gambia Criminal Code.
I see.
Because that doesn't exist.
That isn't at the time.
Yeah, but because
what henceforth?
Henceforth, yes, but the law is not yet fully in place yet.
Okay.
You know, Parliament has passed it. It will be sent to the President for his assent. He has 30 days to either sign or send it back to Parliament with recommendations.
I think he will sign. You are hopeful that he will
Of course, yes.
Okay. What about the other bill? Let me have it.
There is a mutual legal assistance bill that was
What does that mean, mutual legal assistance?
This help is our relationship with other countries to support cross-border crimes, but also to support each other in gathering. Let's put it this way. If another country needs someone to come and answer to crimes, it is through this law that they can make requests to the Gambia. For example, if the fugitive is in the Gambia. So it could be either they could require us to arrest and extradite. That could be one. Or it could be such that maybe the person himself is not here, but some aspects of the crime, the evidence is somewhere in the Gambia here, so we can help them gather the evidence. This could be in the form of even interviewing potential witnesses in the Gambia, collect this evidence for them and send it to them in a standard package. It could be both for evidence gathering, it could be for repatriation of accused persons, and vice versa also. That's the good part of it. It's mutual. That's what it's
mutual
assistance. So we can also request similar assistance from other countries as well.
This is all over. How many countries do we do it? Are we talking about ECOWAS, African Union, or international?
There are some multilateral organizations that, by virtue of your membership of those multilateral organizations, you enjoy this by convention of the multilateral organization. But you also have to have a statute, and then you have a schedule where the countries for which we deem we should apply to. And then this could be countries that probably you don't have such a relationship with.
Okay. I mean, people here will raise eyebrows about Senegal. Recently, they have a lot of issues about Senegal encroaching on our sovereignty, etc. Of course, we have special relationship with Senegal. I guess Senegal, of course, is the same. Also, they have got mutual in this mutual.
Yeah, that bill, just like the torture bill, is also not finalized. So there'll be a schedule. And the minister can always increase that schedule and add more countries that we.
But this does not understand. This does not include political offenses.
No. This is just for law enforcement.
For law enforcement.
This is purely law enforcement.
So politicians who come here to seek asylum will not be subjected to this.
You know, when it comes to extraditing,
not political detainees.
Yes. So when it comes to extradition, there are standards for extradition. So if you are being persecuted based on your political opinion, your gender, your religion, and I think there are about 5 criteria there.
You should not be.
You cannot be, and if you are going to face death penalty.
Even if they, you cannot.
Or you are likely to be tortured on return. These are all grounds for which you cannot extradite somebody. But those things aside, of course.
Okay. What is the other bill?
Which ones did I mention?
You mentioned mutual assistance and access to an anti-torture.
We have the 5th legislature also passed persons with disability.
Disability, yes. How far is that now?
It's a big milestone.
Yes.
That one too, we do work on some of this legislation, but the Ministry of Justice may not be the implementing agency or department.
Yes.
So I think that bill is to be implemented by the Ministry of Gender.
But for things such as this, I had disabled people. I had a lot of interaction with them. They are demanding things like our buildings, our offices, our public places should be, it should be accessed, by them.
Access to public.
How can we do that? Because that involves, of course, we have to find facilities in the rooms or the offices so that they can easily.
Mainly, in fact. Usually they are even denied basic access itself, just to even reach a reception area. So you can put things there that can help them move with their wheelchairs, where those who are using wheelchairs or those that are using crutches should not unnecessarily have to labor to get to at least where the basic services can be accessed. But mainly this is obligatory on public buildings, but private facilities that also serve the public will be encouraged to provide.
How do you think that the government buildings will start implementing these things?
Like I said, I think the sector ministry will be able to deal with it.
Are you going to give them money to do that? to change all the buildings. For example, your office, if
And
somebody
all
comes with a
new
wheelchair,
buildings that are being worked on need to factor those kind of things.
that's a huge responsibility.
Of course, but I mean, they are part of...
Their political rights also have been included in the bill, I'm sure. Do you make it a point of duty, for example, in this election coming, I've been told that I know about women, but I haven't had a disabled councillor. Do you make it a point of duty that each party, because it's political parties that of course you can deal with, make sure that a certain amount of, their candidates are disabled?
The electoral reform process is still on, so the elections bill is one of the bills that are still pending in the National Assembly. And I know National Assembly...
That also is your bill?
Yes. At the committee stage, they do consult a lot of relevant sectors, and so they will consult the disabled category of the society so that their needs are well catered for in the elections bill.
The elections bill is pending, isn't it? Or
It is pending.
It's pending.
The elections bill is pending. The anti-corruption bill is pending. And
that is where I'm coming to.
The criminal code.
What's delaying the anti-corruption bill, for example?
Finally, I think I must commend this 6th legislature. 2 weeks ago, it has now moved to the consideration stage. We have even already started the consideration stage.
They call it the second reading.
Yes, but because this stage requires reading, going through clause by clause, so it couldn't be completed. So they have adjourned it to their next session.
But then you know that this anti-corruption bill has long been in the pipeline and much talk about it. Your government has been criticized so many times for not being enthusiastic about bringing it in, and then people accuse your government of rampant corruption. I understand there have been some successes in terms of prosecution in the recent past by your government. Can we go through there? You had the famous fisheries case, and also I heard about social security staff in government. And are there others that you are?
There are others.
Okay.
And there are others also that currently are at opinion stage that are to be filed. Yes, we have the social security. I think we had one against a number of police officers also that is going on. And of course, the Banja conviction came out well.
Do you realize people started criticizing your government or your minister picking on soft ones and trying to parade that we are fighting when the big fishes are protected?
Actually, I must say this. Even this last cabinet directed that a particular issue that was before us should be immediately investigated. And it's
so there's no sacred cow?
No way.
In the fight against corruption?
No way. But, white-collar crimes anywhere in the world, Lamin,
are difficult.
Are difficult ones, because people who are engaged in doing them, they do it in such a way that they look forward to that one day if it may blow out and they may be investigated. So they are crafty, let me put it that way. They are very crafty in the way they go about it.
So they clear all trails.
And I must say this, my experience at the Ministry of Justice is that it's very difficult to get witnesses to come and support this kind of
such matters,
on such matters. And I must be grateful to, without naming names, to the whistleblower in the Banja case who sacrificed to come and testify in court. We have a lot of corruption-related cases. People don't want to come to court. The Social Security case that you made mention of, this is not a new case. It stayed in the court for more than a year. Witnesses refused to come to testify. It got to a point where I had to direct that if any witness during investigation who goes to court and gave a statement or against somebody on a corruption-related matter, and the matter is filed in court and that witness is refusing to come to court to testify as to what he or she knows in that matter, that witness himself should be charged.
Okay.
Because you would have wasted public resources to investigate something, and we are to rely on you to be successful in the court. Either you don't come, or you come, you change your statement. All right? And you start saying, I don't know, I am. So I don't know whether it's because the way our society is. But one of the most difficult cases to prosecute in the courts is these white-collar crimes.
Because you don't have witnesses who will volunteer.
Very, very difficult to get witnesses to come and testify. So that's why sometimes their investigations take long, because sometimes the police will investigate, send us the file. When we evaluate, we will tell them we don't have enough to proceed. So you need to go further investigation. So we'll give them pointers.
I see.
All right? And sometimes this takes ages. And people are very impatient when it comes to this kind of thing, because the news would have been broken in the public already.
Yeah.
You know, they would have released, the news is out there that some alleged corruption happened at a particular place. So if it takes a month and nobody is charged, the perception is they are suppressing it. But no, sometimes gathering the evidence to be able to go to court on these matters is very, very, very difficult.
You prosecuted a high-profile, alleged corruption case in the Gam Petroleum. You failed miserably to get any prosecution there, any conviction there. People criticize you for not handling it well.
Okay, that's a very good example you're using. Now, the Gam Petroleum case, it stayed in the Ministry of Justice for 4 months. 4 months, I refused it to be filed. You know what?
Why?
The next thing I saw in the media, I was accused of suppressing, trying to kill the case.
Yes.
But because our position at the Ministry of Justice at the time was, we do not see all that we need in the file to proceed to court.
You did not see.
So, in the end, would I say due to public pressure and pressure, we went. All right? But you see, it's very difficult to satisfy, how would I call it, the public court. You will be convicted either way.
I see.
All right?
Because
you don't go, you are accused of trying to kill the case.
You go.
You rush, you go, you lose,
fail,
you are now accused of either being compromised or incompetent.
Yeah, but many people believe people who are involved were highly placed people who are close to people in power.
I can speak for myself when it comes to this kind of
powerful business tycoons who are very close to corridors of power.
I can only speak for myself when it comes to this kind of things. I know with respect to this job, I will do it with my utmost, and I will do everything possible to preserve my integrity. So I am not being compromised.
But there's a statement that you're gonna appeal this case.
Not appeal. The case is not over.
You're gonna further prosecute?
There is a forensic audit going on.
Oh, okay.
Which we understand will complete it very soon. So depending on the outcome of the forensic audit, of course, I know some of my colleagues are saying, but AG, you cannot charge on the same facts. Yes, we are aware of that.
Yes.
But we are looking at a situation where the forensic audit will bring us new evidence and new facts leading to charging not necessarily the same crimes for which they've been acquitted, but we will see what the audit will reveal. If there is any reason to charge something different, the case is not over.
Well, what normally happens in the case of, I'll tell you an example, like in the case of the Auditor General's recommendations. There have been recommendations, for example, have been referred to the police, and then, of course, for possible prosecution. Have you had any, information or any case that probably may lead to prosecution in terms of what the auditors recommended?
Yes. Like I said, I have, I was telling you, some are in court that I can't remember, and some are being worked on.
Okay.
One of the files I say are being worked on and will be filed shortly is audit related.
Audit related.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Auditor General have always said that one of the reasons they feel frustrated is that their recommendations are not being implemented by government.
Yeah, usually I think they are referred to the police for police to investigate and then send the files to us.
Okay.
But when they come to us, we look at it and give an opinion. I know there is one case there that involves some heads of agencies. That prima facie case is made out. So we will be filing in the courts.
All right, let's now talk about the general situation of the access to justice in the country. In the past, over the last 22 years, what we have seen is the state directly interfering in cases, for example, cases that the state is interested in, the president or some, highly placed person is interested in. These cases are either frustrated or withdrawn out of court, or people are victimized, with no law or no recourse to justice to protect them. How far have we improved in those matters?
The evidence is very clear now. The courts are very accessible.
And
the courts
completely
are
independent?
Very independent, very, very independent. Zero state interference. And I think they are doing their best under the circumstances. They are challenged too.
Yes.
Both sides. My office have its own challenges.
Yes.
The courts have their own challenges.
Last time you talked about lack of... do you even have a director of prosecution now, isn't it?
We don't. We have a deputy director of public prosecution. Director of public prosecution has eluded that office since 2017.
What do you think is normally the problem? The money is not good, or maybe the Gambians don't want it?
Partly yes.
The money is not good.
Yeah, because if you look at what private practitioners are making in their offices,
yes, always.
If you want them to leave that to come and be a director at the Ministry of Justice, if you look at the package, I think that's one of them. But probably, I don't know, my colleagues, maybe they don't have passion.
Gambians have no enthusiasm. Gambian legal people are no enthusiasm.
Maybe their passion lies in defending than in prosecuting.
In prosecuting. Do we have problems of, like you said, like what happens to witnesses? Having this perception that, well, when I come forward, I'm going to put somebody in trouble. Maybe Gambians should, that if I'm director...
I wouldn't rule it out. You know, we are a very small community. Almost we all know each other.
Yes.
So to have an effective Gambian director of public prosecution, I'll agree with you, there will be some aspect of that.
Yes.
Because of the public perception of a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Because some people perceive a prosecutor to be an evil person.
Yes.
But no, I think it's a very noble public duty. To prosecutor. Because you know what, Lamin, to be honest with you, there are some elements in society, if they are not incarcerated, the rest of us will not have peace.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So somebody whose responsibility is to take that difficult task of facing those kind of people in court and working so hard to make sure that they are excluded so that the rest of society can be in peace cannot be an evil person.
Yeah, but there are a lot of misconceptions.
It's a misconception.
That's why I said that when you hear Attorney General is represented by so and so, you don't feel as a person that, because you know many people take Attorney General just as a name, but it represents a human being. So how do you feel when you hear, like for example, I tell you, like people, because of what happened here, like I told you, under the Jammeh regime, where Jammeh or government has interest in, that case is, you know, there's a lot of interference, open interference. And it has spilled over to here, even now with the democratic dispensation. For example, when the public are in solidarity with an accused person, and the accused is brought from detention and coming to court, the public are so in solidarity, they will attack the government, Attorney General or the President, as if it is the President who wants that man locked up. If they see police, they think the police are representing you or the President. They think that it's the President or you who want that man locked up. So you see that misconceptions I see.
I think, I mean, this will be an opportunity for me to call on the public for that mindset to change.
Exactly, it has not changed.
The police, they are both the investigative police and their prosecutors and the prosecutors in my office are not enemies of the people.
Exactly.
For one good reason, in fact, like I said a little while ago, that these people are working for the public.
Exactly.
If they are seeking for somebody to go to jail, it's not because they are wicked. It's because the public gave them that responsibility that anybody that does A, B, C, D should be prosecuted, and they're just performing that duty. These are laws that are made by our own legislature, and they are given the responsibility of implementing those laws. And like I said, when somebody is alleged to have committed a crime, we should be patient enough, so long as we have a very impartial judiciary. Let's be patient to allow the thing to take its natural course. All right? It's an allegation. All right? The prosecutor is presenting the evidence before the court. The person and his defense team are entitled to also argue and present their case. In the end, we believe that impartial judge or magistrate will determine whether, you know, a case has been proven. And, you know, in criminal law, it's proven beyond reasonable doubt. All right?
Difficult, yes.
And being a former magistrate myself, I can tell you that too, there is a misconception. You know, the public, like I said, it's very difficult to win anything in the public court. There are some people who are acquitted too. The public will also say we are compromised. We allow the criminal to walk free. There are situations you are after somebody, but because maybe that person is a darling of certain sector of society, they believe, no, they are persecuting him, they shouldn't go after him. So where do we stand? And in court, in criminal trial, it's not every acquittal. When people can be acquitted, it does not necessarily mean they have not done the offense.
I see.
It means sufficient evidence has not been led to the required standard to warrant a conviction.
I see.
You and I are here, two of us. If I put my hand in your pocket and took a $5, you go out and report me at the police station. Statements are taken. I'm charged for stealing. We go to court. because it's you and I.
Yeah.
Probably, let's assume the cameras are not.
Oh,
there.
well, not in this case, of course.
So, if you fail to prove your case, with all the investigation that is done, that I actually stole this $5 from your pocket, I am acquitted and discharged. Yeah. But does that did not change the fact that I actually stole $5 from you?
Yes. In both of our minds, those who knew, we know that I did.
So this is the point.
That's the point.
So there are likelihood people can be acquitted and discharged. It means, like I told you, but there are times, most not likely, because that is why the standard of proof is raised to beyond reasonable doubt. It's highly unlikely for somebody to be convicted.
It protects the accused a lot.
Of course. Of course, in fact, there are principles in criminal law that will tell you it's better for 2, and some people will say even more than 2. Criminals to walk out free than for one innocent person to be incarcerated.
Absolutely, yeah. I can understand you, but we skipped intellectual property.
Yeah, intellectual property. We even have a new bill which is on the pipeline. That is under, in my ministry, is under the Registrar General. Under the Registrar General's office, there are 3 registries. You have the marriage registry.
Yes.
And I must tell you, a lot of marriages have been celebrated.
Last time I checked. But there have been a lot of issues that sometimes some marriages or some things are delayed.
Okay, let me give you the 3 registries, then you come with your question.
All right.
You have the marriage registry, you have the intellectual property registry, and you have the deeds registry.
Yes.
Under the Registrar
General, yes.
So come with your marriage question.
Well, I've had people who said they've got married, they couldn't get the certificate. I mean, your ministry said either your system is down. Some also people want title deeds. It couldn't be printed because they said your system is down.
Yes.
What was the problem?
I wouldn't deny that. We have been grappling with an endemic IT-related problems in the ministry. I can speak for my ministry, but I think generally for government.
Okay.
And I think that and many other reasons led to the creation of the Ministry of Digital Economy. And I'm aware that they are working very, very hard for the e-governance agenda.
I said so, yeah.
We are struggling. Sometimes it's internet-based. Sometimes probably we have not paid the service provider on time. And then the plug is pulled.
As a government, you shouldn't allow that.
I'm just saying there are different reasons.
Wow.
And different reasons, but sometimes generally the system is down. You know, sometimes even the whole country suffers from internet blackout. Sometimes usually briefly, momentarily. So there are different factors to that. But yes, it do happen intermittently.
Okay.
But overall, whenever it happens, when our attention is called to that, we try to work hard to fix it so that the service that that department is providing to the public is not unduly interrupted for long.
So you said many celebrated the marriages. Can you
the marriage registry issues marriage certificates. They also authenticate, but that's for marriages that they preside over.
Wasn't there a system, I think, under the Jammeh regime where President himself had to authorize on marriage?
He signs the certificates.
It's still happening?
Now I sign on his behalf.
Well, you signed on
because of that bureaucracy to make sure that it moves faster.
But why do we have to have the president or you sign?
It's the law. So probably these are some of the legislative reforms I talked to you earlier. There are a lot of archaic laws in our system. Some of them are pre-colonial.
Right.
And they're still there.
You should be your duty to clear them out. If I am married...
Already we have a backlog of legislations in the assembly. These things are not that quick. So we are working on them. And we have a lineup of bills that are yet to be introduced in Parliament. Already they are grappling with what is there already before, and then we are filing in more and more. We are tabling more and more. So we are committed, but it's a process. These things cannot happen overnight, Lamin. Government business cannot be as private sector business.
How far is it registering companies now?
If you have everything intact, you should be able to register your company if the system is not down one day. In one day. That's our target.
You have to wake this system up.
No, you can do it in a day.
In a day?
In a day.
Okay.
That is if all your requirements are intact. You have your memorandum and articles all signed. You collect your TIN certificate. And those shareholders, all of them, their details, their particulars are readily available. Of course, you can do it in a day. The problem will be you go, everything is not intact. They ask you to go and bring ABCD. Right. But if you have a food package, that's why we recommend if you want to register a company, see a counsel first. So that this lawyer will tell you all that are needed, and then you put them in place, and that counsel in fact should file for you.
It's much easier.
Much easier and faster.
There's something about intellectual property. If the bill comes in, who's going to be the implementing agents? The National Council for Arts and Culture or the...
You seem to know a little bit about this area.
I want to know, because this is a problem. People don't know how do they get royalties from their work or their creations or things from their brainchild.
That component of intellectual property is co-implemented, but National Council or Commission for Arts and Culture.
Council.
Council
or Center now, Center.
Or Center, yes.
Yeah.
For Arts and Culture takes the lead in that. Yes.
How I haven't seen the bill yet, but my problem, how do we get implemented, for example?
We are bringing all of them together. The mandate of National Center for Arts and Culture and the mandate of the Intellectual Property Registry are now going to be fused in the new bill.
Okay.
Yes. So that it will be a one-stop shop. So to make it easier for people who are confused as to where to go to.
I see.
Yeah.
I talk about how improved is the human rights situation in terms of police arrest and police handling of detainees and etc. etc. I ask you, how improved is it now? Do you have an oversight, if any, on the security, of course?
We have a relationship with the police,
yes.
Not an oversight. The oversight ministry is
interior.
Yeah, but we have a very good working
But when
relationship.
it comes to things like human rights issues, that they end up in your desk.
Yes, they have a human rights unit in the police itself. We encourage them to aspire to be as protective and respectful as possible.
Do you have to deal in the recent past, to deal with human rights abuses allegedly? Committed by the police?
No. Except recently in the National Assembly, a member during the adjournment debate mentioned of witnessing a police, somehow police doing something wrong. And then he raised it during the adjournment debate. We took note of it. But such reports, no, not at my
Not as rampant as before.
No, really, but we can all attest to that.
Yes,
that our
definitely.
police-civilian relationship have greatly improved.
Improved,
yes.
All right. Yeah. Before I leave you, is there any other things in the pipeline that you want to share with the public, Honorable Minister?
Yes, like I said, we will soon be launching the implementation plan of the TRRC white paper.
Yes.
This is a very important milestone, and we will soon be announcing the date.
Okay.
And we will invite all our international partners. This is the stage where we believe we will see real action. Before we were working
So we will see people being arrested and paraded before courts.
You see, that's the problem. It's good you bring that up. It's like whenever you talk about TRRC, people are focused only on prosecution.
Yes.
But like I'm telling you, that is one component. And like I said, that one, the stages, I've already said it earlier. But there is much more. Much more. The reforms. Because a lot of what had happened in the 22 years rule of the former President Jammeh, you know, most of it happened because the institutions allowed it or enabled it. So the reform to me is very critical. Okay. If the saying "never again" is something that we can go about, we can achieve, in order to avoid a recurrence of what had happened, the institutions and laws have to change. So for me, the reform bit is very critical for me. But of course, the country also need to heal and move on.
Okay.
We cannot continue to dwell in the past.
Exactly.
And in that regard, there is a bill that is coming up very soon called the Peace and Reconciliation Bill.
Okay.
And that bill will set up the Peace Commission.
Okay.
And their mandate will be to promote the fragile peace that we have.
Reconciliation.
Yes, and help people to reconcile. Because that's also very important. We cannot only continue to be
But
more. At some point, we need to heal, reconcile, and move on.
Good. I forgot to mention the cases of those Gambians who are already facing prosecution in connection with, the Jammeh crimes, such as former Interior Minister Usman Sonko in Switzerland. I know the Americans also have arrested an alleged jungler in Korea, who's been tried. And the Americans also, in terms of states looted properties on the Jammeh assets, his property in America, which was, I think, through a court procedure, which was confiscated. The Americans said they want to find a way of mechanism of selling it and giving you the proceeds, the government, I mean, not Dawda, government money. So
Yes.
that it can be put into. I think it has been said that it's for the interest of the victims. Let's talk about the Usman Sonko case. How far is it now?
There are 3 prosecutions happening right now.
Oh, it's three. What is the third one? Oh, okay. Yeah, the one in Germany.
By law in Germany.
By law in Germany,
Usman
yes.
Sonko in Switzerland.
Let's talk about the Switzerland one. That keep on. The Swiss authorities keep on extending time and what is the state now?
You know, I think I can take advantage of that example.
Yeah.
You know, if it were in Gambia, we would have been under monumental pressure.
Yes.
That we are not doing anything, we are slow.
Yeah.
But even in the developed world, some of these crimes takes time to build up. It takes time to build cases, certain critical cases, if you want to succeed in court. But here, if it's a month and a case file has not been filed, a lot of noise that they are killing the case, they are not serious, they don't want to do something. But look at Switzerland.
Yes.
It's for the last, more than 5 years?
Well,
6 years.
And when I'm in the newsroom, reporters bring news. I said, what? There's no news. The guys are asking for.
And I must tell you, Switzerland has been coming. Prosecutors have been coming to the Gambia time and again to collect evidence and go. To come interview witnesses and go. So they've been working. But like I said, it takes time to build certain case files. When they are ready, we will hear the thing going on. Germany actually moved a little bit faster.
Yes.
But for Germany too, before they effected the arrest, it took them long to build the case.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So until at a point when they thought the case is ripe, then they just straight up went and arrested, and then they went to court. So, Sir Michael Correa also, how many years has he been detained in the
Exactly, yes.
All right?
And that case has not even started.
So, I will use this opportunity to plead with the audience, but with Gambian public in general.
Yes.
Government things sometimes can be as fast as we want them. They should allow us time if they want us to achieve a good result in the end. Sometimes the pressure can be huge that you are compelled to push to move faster. But sometimes that could be at the expense of justice itself. Sometimes it could be at the expense of.
So at what stage is this Correa?
So Sam Michael Correa was all along at pre-trial. Usman was also at pre-trial. By law is already at trial stage.
Yeah.
So but very soon we believe, based on the briefings we have been receiving, both cases will move to full trial stage.
How about okay, you know, the international community are helping you recover things that might have been stolen from the states under the former regime, and particularly the Jammeh's property in America.
Yeah, Potomac property in America.
Yes, what is the state of that?
We have secured a forfeiture order already through the American courts, thanks to my colleagues at the Department of Justice at the United States. So preliminaries, the property is being prepared to be put in the market.
Yeah. American
so it will be sold and the funds will be repatriated to the Gambia.
Well, anything else, Honorable? Because I'm very happy that you have, after a long time, you have made this into the studio. Anything else you want to share with the public?
Thank you, Lavin. No, I can only thank the audience and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Hopefully next time.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. The Honorable Dawda Jallow is the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Republic of the Gambia. Thank you very much for sharing your time. This is the brunch. When we come back, we will continue with the Gambia Center for Research and Policy Studies, who are with us in the studio. The brunch will be back in a few minutes.
Agada.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenje.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara Allah service o tariya.
Ah,
mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona Forest de Bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Ha, birim ko na fo kato.
Barisi kodo kino kato ni fo bolong labe ko.
56 branches mola sota Gambia ja.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo ki ya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw jannam number 1 ti nyonta andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma nin domorol ni fana beteata Gambia Dawda Jallow ngam fa kendol sotale je
wo moyo diat
apelenta
baraka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina
yalla bu kanila ko la baraka ba
yalla ndel ciosano lo
baraka.
That session with the Attorney General, we continue on the brunch this Saturday with a look at the work, mandate, objectives, and activities of the Gambia Center for Research and Policy Studies. Now, this is a non-government think tank organization which works with governments, non-governmental groups in the identification of development bottlenecks, suggestion of practical solutions, and promotion of appropriate development practices. I'm told the group provides research, consulting, policy studies, analysis, training, workshops, seminars, and conference, etc., etc. But, well, like you over there, probably this is the first time I hear of the Gambia Center for Research and Policy Studies. So I drag into the studio Mr. Modu Toure, who is the president of the center. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Toure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamin Cham.
Good. So what I've just outlined some of the things that the center does. Let us have a history of the Gambia Center for Policy Research and Studies.
Thank you once again, Lamin, for the invitation.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm grateful to Kerr Fatou for inviting Gambia Center for Research and Policy Studies.
Good.
As you rightly mentioned, this is a think tank that has been formed by Gambians in the Gambia and those that live in the diaspora. So these different individuals thought that it would be important for Gambia to have a think tank. And you know, the role of a think tank is for policy advice.
Exactly.
Is for government and policymakers to have an alternative advice for policy making.
Exactly.
So in that regard, we know that there is no think tank in the Gambia. There was an attempt.
There was an attempt by government.
Yes, by government. But I doubt whether it's
obviously if it is here at all, there's not much of is left of it now.
So we have been working, and on the 5th of January, I believe,
this year,
2018, we registered Gambia Center for Research and Policy Studies.
Okay.
So, as you said, to look at development bottlenecks of the country, and recommend and design policy options for government and policymakers.
I take it that you and your members must be people with very strong backgrounds in various fields. For example, Modu Toure, what is your field?
I'm an economist.
An economist.
So I have a bachelor's degree in development studies and a master's degree in economic policy management. I'm also a certified Prince 2 professional, which is a project management professional.
Yeah.
So I have been working with projects for, I would say, for more than 15 years.
Good.
And I've been working with international organizations in different capacities.
Can you be kind enough to share with us who are the other members of the center studies?
Yes.
Any prominent name?
Is Dr. Boubacar Ba, who is an assistant professor. He currently works at the MRC Gambia. So he's the head of data science and research at the MRC. So Dr. Ba has his master's degree in the UK, and also his PhD, and he has also done postdoctoral in Switzerland and in America, in different universities. He also had Africa Center for Sciences, which they call AIMS.
Yes,
in South Africa.
In South Africa.
So he's also a very strong person in terms of his academic background, his research potentials. I would say his research, and that's why he works at the MRC. And you know, the MRC is one of the branches of the
London School of Economics, hygiene and all that. Anyway, remember?
So we also have Dr. Bumi Kamara, who is an economist.
Okay.
He has a PhD in development economics, and he currently works at the African Development Bank, based in Abidjan. So we also have Dr. Baturum Mboj.
Yes, I had it known.
So Dr. Baturum Mboj has a PhD in public health, and he currently works in the US. So these are the founding members. And we also have Dr. Lang Sanyang, who is a lecturer at the University of the Gambia.
Currently.
Okay. And then we have Mr. Saliu Bojang, who also has his master's degree, and he currently resides in the US. And we have Kausu Sanyang, who is a manager in one of the banks in the US. So I would say these are the members who
quite an array of
different
highly educated professionals
in finance, in management, because Sanyang is a professional in management. The other Sanyang is a professional in banking and finance. Dr. Kamara is a professional in development economics, in development in general. And Dr. Ba is a professional in data science, in computational mathematics.
Okay.
So, and Dr. Mboj is a professional in health.
I heard about
So we came together to form this association. I'm currently the president, and Dr. Ba is the chairman of the board.
Good. Now, since 2018, what kind of activities have you done? You said, of course, you want particularly to provide identified solutions to bottlenecks to governments, private institutions. How have you been working with the Gambia government, if any?
Well, we have not worked much with the Gambia government for now, because what we have been trying to do is to set up this center and also set up an office and all the operational arms of the center, and also launch the center, etc. But in the meanwhile, we have been working in terms of what we call our public forums.
Okay.
So we have now run 3 public forums.
Yes.
And the first was on the importance of mathematics in the economic development of the Gambia.
Okay.
Wherein we mobilize professionals in the field to discuss the challenges. And now we have been working on some of the recommendations that came out of that forum, to see how we can develop a research paper and further be able to look in depth in some of the issues and be able to advise policymakers and those that are in the education sector.
I see.
So, secondly, we had also a forum on health.
Okay.
Where we looked at the Gambia's public health sector, and we had professional in the health field, both in the Gambia and abroad, that discuss in detail what are some of the challenges.
Okay.
So what we usually do is after each forum, we do a discussion of the outcome of the forum, and from there we develop research areas or things that we need to look in depth to be able to develop some, I would say, recommendations for the concerned actors to be able to also see if this will be, I would say, acceptable to them to be able to change the situation.
So as a think tank, your services are not just available to the government, but any other relevant institutions or entities?
Of course.
Okay.
So we are available to communities, to NGOs, to international organizations, to civil society, and to government. So our interest is to ensure that what we come up with is able to add value to the development of this country. And development is not only for government. The private sector, the civil society, the NGOs, and several other actors, even local actors, are all important in the development process, because development has to be participatory, it has to be comprehensive, it has to involve, as we say, leave no one behind. So this is our approach, and we are available for a partnership with anyone who wants to do a research or do a policy analysis or engage in any training, capacity building, etc. for the purpose of enhancing the development potentials of this country.
And I guess you said you had registered and set up structures. You must have an office now, is it? Where is it located, if there is?
We have an office, but our challenge has been, as you know, in the Gambia, to have an ideal location.
Ideal location.
Ideal location.
Ideally, where would you love to be?
So, because for us, we are also setting up what we call a media center.
Okay. All right.
And in this media center will also involve an online platform.
Okay.
You can call it a TV, you can call it whatever. Okay. But this online platform would also be an arm of the center to be able to amplify the voices, our voices, but the voices of other people, other actors in the development process.
Nice.
So currently we are recruiting a consultant to be able to set up this media platform. So we have been, I would say, struggling to get an actual location. Currently we temporarily reside in one of the houses of the members.
Okay.
So, but our intention is, even today, if we have a suitable place. And when we say a suitable place, it shouldn't be too far from the highway.
Yes.
It should be reachable.
Yeah.
And also, as you also know, that some parts of these communities are sometimes not motorable during the rainy season.
Exactly.
We also take into account those kinds of issues.
I take it in your activities and where you do consultancies, you deal with topics like ethics, morality for Gambia's sustainable development, compliance, accountability, and probity in workplaces, diligence, discipline, drive in workplaces, employer-employee obligations in workplaces, justice, equity, and fairness in workplaces. This is an important area that you focus on. Is there a problem in the Gambia, for example, in the public sector, where these issues are problems like ethics, morality, diligence, discipline at work, etc.?
Yes, in the Gambia, as it is in many developing countries, the issue of ethics, professionalism, punctuality, regularity in office, timeliness in undertaking assignments or delivering on on actions. These are challenges that draws back our development speed. And we have seen also the issues, there have been a lot of discussions recently on issues related to corruption, issues related to I would say ethics, professionalism in the public service in general. So we saw that it is important for us to discuss these issues and come up with genuine solutions that could address some of these bottlenecks. In one of our discussions, for example, we discussed issues related to, for example, timeliness in the office.
Yes.
And someone said, okay, let's take Friday, for example.
Friday. Yes. Which is a half day.
Exactly. So if someone comes to the office at 9 o'clock and takes 30 minutes to have his breakfast, and maybe before he starts actual work is 10 o'clock, and before half 12 he's preparing to go back home.
Yes, this is very, very common.
How many hours?
Virtually nothing. It's very common.
So take into account the time, the resources that person has used for that day to come from his house or her house to the office, and could only work for 1 hour.
1 hour.
It means we are utilizing a lot of resources to come to work, but not delivering much. So issues like this, sometimes people trivialize it, but it is something very important in our development process. If you should have delivered an important task that day, that hinges on the task of others.
Then it will.
If that gets delayed, all the other tasks gets delayed.
Exactly.
And possibly this is an important factor
Yeah.
in probably finishing a policy paper.
Exactly.
Or responding to a community concern. Maybe if it be an emergency.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important that public officials or people in general are professional in their work, are punctual and regular, and also the issues of ethics.
Yes.
Conscience.
Talk about ethics. Yeah.
Doing things that I would say are ethically, doing things that would help the development process rather than retard it. So you have a lot of also ethical concerns. People doing things that probably they are doing it to fight their fellow colleague.
Yeah, that's true.
Which should not be, because this hinges on our development.
Yes, that's right.
Public servants, public officials are the ones that implement policy. And because policy implementation depends on them, it is important that they take cognizance that they have a very important task for the development of this country, for the progress, for the prosperity, for the reduction of poverty, for the reduction of, I would say, all the other, I would say, menaces regarding to health, etc.
Exactly.
So, and that is why we think that bringing important and not only important but also people who have the experiences, the academic background, but also people who we believe have impeccable character to discuss about these issues with the public, so that we can, sometimes it's just a reminder to remind ourselves, to remind the public, to remind our public servants that we need to be more professional.
Yeah.
We need to be ethical.
Yeah.
We need to be morally obliged to deliver services as far as we are employed to do so.
I take it that your group also did some studies as to employer-employee obligations in the workplace. Often you hear that employees complaining of not having their safety, their rights in terms of benefits being updated with either with social security or income tax or like that, or not being given appointment letters, etc. Since you talk about a relationship between workplace or worker and employer, I guess you must have carried out studies on this front too.
Yes.
What have been your discoveries?
Yeah, I think what we have been looking at, especially, is what we call personnel management. And when we say personnel management, it involves the employer obligation to the employee, and how the employer manage its staff, its personnel, to be able to deliver the services that the organization has mandated to deliver. And you see, there are so many theories that help us to understand employee-employer relations. And one of these is the agency theories, the institutional theory, and we have what we call the game theory. All of these are theories that help us to understand what does the employer needs to do to ensure that the employee will work towards the aim and objective of the organization.
Yeah.
So because sometimes that's what you call the dilemma of the employee-employer relations. How would you ensure that the employee will work wholeheartedly for the organization, but at the same time, the employee also has an interest that he wants to pursue or that she wants to pursue. But how do we ensure that the interest of the employee and the interest of the employer match in a way that the employee's work is both advancing his interest but also the interest of the organization? Because sometimes these are the challenges. Somebody is working for you, and at the same time he has some interest in possibly advancing his own reputation or his own image, but also possibly something related to finance. So how do we ensure that he works to the extent that
to the best of his ability,
he is working to the best of his ability,
and get fairly.
And one good example is, not to disrespect them, but the driver and the owner of the car.
Okay.
So what can the owner of the car do to ensure that whatever the driver gets from the car is given to the car owner?
I see.
You see. Right. So these are sometimes we have been thinking, in fact myself have been thinking of what mechanisms, because you talk to car owners, the drivers, some of the drivers will come to you and say that the car had a breakdown.
And then
in the actual fact it didn't have any breakdown.
Yes.
Or today I couldn't have the usual werse, as they call it. I could only have half of it.
Half of it, yes.
So those are challenges, but there could be a mechanism in which the driver will deliver, but also ensuring that his interest is also taken into account.
That's true. Now, I take it that it is government, because in this country now, most of these issues people are concerned with is what happens, what transpires in government agencies, government offices. And some of these studies you then actually means that, just to cut it so that the government should be your biggest customer in terms of these researches. That's why I'm asking whether any of them have consulted you or contacted you to do any consultancy on these matters, like punctuality, accountability, etc., and attitude of workers and employers towards workers.
Not so far, but I think also we also need to be proactive. Sometimes you don't wait for someone to give you work to do. As a think tank, we should be looking at I would say issues that are in the public domain or that are shaping public opinion.
Okay.
And then researching on them.
All right.
And that is why we have been looking at some of these issues.
I see some, after doing their researches, they issue statements on races, and you said you're working on a media center. So I take it that in the not too distant future, we will be hearing more from the GCM, your organizer.
Sure. Because that is the aim.
Yeah.
Because possibly we will not have frequent opportunities to come to Kerr, Fatou or other media organizations.
Yeah.
So
but you can issue statements.
Exactly. So it is important that you also have a platform in which you can issue statements, issue research results, research recommendation, but also discuss pertinent issues affecting our development.
You said it's a non-profitable organization. By that you mean you don't go into adventures that are business-like or something. But I take it that if you are consulted or contracted to do studies, you obviously need to be funded, isn't it? How do you get your funding?
Yeah, of course. As I said, we have a lot of professionals, and all of these professionals, none of them are paid. They voluntarily provide their services. So possibly if we have a partnership with an organization who's ready to fund, it's basically the cost of the research, not necessarily a remuneration
for you people.
For us.
I see.
So that is.
For example, I am a parastatal, or I am director of certain government, and I want a workshop. I feel that my staff needs to have some orientation in some of these things you are talking about. They can come to you, and then you can organize workshops or seminars for them.
Exactly. So we can organize trainings. As I said, I'm a professional in project management.
Areas.
So, and we have a lot of projects in this country. Sometimes we say that we don't see the outcome or the results of those projects, and possibly it's not something intentional. It is as a result of maybe lack of capacity.
I see.
So these are some of the issues that need to be addressed to ensure that government services are delivered with quality.
Good. Well, finally, Doctor, I want you to talk now finally on the next activities of your agency, that is the Gambia Center for Research of Policy and Strategic Research.
Yes, on the center itself. Yes, so as I said, the center has been established since 2018 by prominent Gambians living here and abroad.
Yeah.
And our main mission or vision is to ensure that, or to envision a society where the functioning and capabilities of the Gambian society are enhanced so that we are able to realize our development potentials without compromising the development of the future generations.
Fantastic.
So that is the vision.
Okay.
So in order to realize this vision, we have strategies in place to be able to deliver this. And one of it is what we call capacity building.
Yeah.
Because capacity is very important if we are to develop. And that capacity could be individual, could be institutional, and it could be resources wise.
Exactly.
So we need to build capacity. And if you look at the membership and the network of experts we have, we can deliver capacity building in so many fields. So the second approach is to have constructive public forums. And these constructive public forums are some of the ones that we have been running so far. Doing a public forum on mathematics and development. And as you know, we have a challenge in the school system for students to pass maths. In particular. So we discussed these challenges, and one of our experts have already done a research on the issues.
What do you think are the massive failures in mathematics in schools?
I think first of all is what I will call the delivery approach, the methodology, the way we teach mathematics in the school system. Is one important, I would say, challenge that because it's delivered, is so theoretical.
I see.
And for someone to understand mathematics, you need to move from the theoretical approach of delivering mathematics
to the practical,
to more practical and application approach.
I see.
Where maths is applied, using that approach would work better.
I see.
And secondly, also, we face an important challenge of language. One problem we face is someone goes to school, a Fula, a Mandinka, a Wolof, a Sarahule or Jola. The first day you are taught in English.
Yes.
And this child has not even mastered his own or her own language yet. And we are teaching him or her in a foreign language.
I used to suggest we should teach them in their language.
In fact, it is recommended that. In fact, it has been proven by research that people or students that are taught in their own language perform better than those that are taught in foreign language.
Sadly, we don't have methods to teach our people in our language. Our languages are not written.
So that's the sad thing. But I've seen some approaches by government in introducing local languages in the school system.
Well, that was the non-formal sector.
This was in the lower schools. Lower primary school.
There's an effort now to bring it.
To bring local languages.
I see.
So the students will be taught in their local language. Because that early starting, before the person understands English, he or she needs to be taught in his or her language.
I see.
And at the same time, you are teaching him English. So by the time he now has a command in the language, he has already
understood them.
So he's able to. Because sometimes if you ask somebody a question in maths, in the English language that he doesn't understand. It's difficult for him to answer the question.
I see.
And this is some of the challenges.
Okay, so your research shows that we need to give greater priority to teaching our own languages.
Exactly.
Coming up with a formula.
Especially at the lower level.
I see.
Starting, where people.
But does this involve a whole lot of curriculum, literature in our languages, a whole area of investment, and perhaps education system it might require us now to do?
Well,
Well, of course, the non-formal sector had done a lot of work in that, but
So
it's not as vibrant as.
Yeah, what we need to invest in it if we want to see better performance of our students at the higher level. So you go to so many countries, even in Africa, some of them are delivering in the local language.
Yeah, some countries like the East African community members, for example, Swahili, they are fortunate definitely to have such a, how do we call it, a lingua franca, so to speak. But we don't have it in the Senegambia region. All of Jollof would have done. I've seen books in Mandinka, and sometimes full of attempts have been made.
And in Wolof, yes, we have there are even alphabets in these languages.
Yeah. So you're suggesting that we should expand those things.
Exactly. So we should teach the local, using the local language in the lower secondary school, or in the, I would say, in the primary schools.
Okay. Right.
So this will help in the understanding of the English language itself.
I see. Yes.
Because how can you teach somebody a foreign language that he doesn't understand, and using that language as the medium of instruction?
I see.
So that is the I would say the contradiction.
Okay.
You are teaching somebody. If I should teach you Jola and you don't understand Jola, and I'm using the Jola to teach you Jola,
it would
be difficult to understand.
Difficult, yes.
But if I use the language you know to teach you Jola,
yeah, I probably will easily understand.
You easily understand.
I see.
So at the lower level, if we start using local languages to teach maths, to teach English, to teach the sciences, then we understand better.
I see.
So as you go up the system, maybe by the time you reach grade 6, you have already have a command in the English language. And then at some stage you can now use the English language as the medium of instruction.
So let's go back to your studies. The next thing is, and your focus, your radar is...
Yes. So the next is, as I said, consultancies. So this will be on demand, but we can do our own researches to reveal some of the issues for policy. It could be in any priority sector of society or government. It could be in the health. It could be, as I said, in the school system, for example, the issue of mathematics.
Yeah.
It could be in development policy. We currently have the National Development Plan.
Yeah.
I particularly conducted research on the implementation of the National Development Plan, the first one.
Okay.
The 2017
to 2021,
2018
to
2022.
Okay.
Because it was supposed to end in 2021, but it was extended to 2022.
I see.
So you can see a lot of challenges we face in the implementation process.
Yes.
But it could be made better. It could be made better if we take conscious actions to remedy the challenges we face in implementation.
Good.
For example, one key aspect of implementation is be able to report progress. But we are told, or we have discovered, that for the entire period of the National Development Plan 2018 to 2022, there was only one report.
Really?
Submitted. So how can you measure your progress if you are not reporting? So these are important challenges. If you report on an annual basis, at the minimum, but you could report quarterly, you could report biannually. But if you report at the minimum annually, you could see what progress are you making, but also what challenges are you facing, to be able to change certain configuration in the implementation process, to be able to speed up implementation. So those are some of the things. So consultancies are important, and then research and data management. As I said, one of our experts, one of our members is an expert in data science. He currently has the data unit of the MRC. So that shows that we have got experts that are recognized and that are practicing what they are good at. So it's very important if you want to have policy right. Policy should be based on research and data. If you don't have data, you cannot have policy right. If you don't do research, because policy formulation itself, the first aspect of policy formulation is doing the research part, gathering the data, knowing what the problems are, knowing what options are available, knowing what works better to be able to design a better policy for a developing for a country. But if you don't do that, then it's like you are doing things blindly. And second, we have public policy analysis, which is also an aspect of doing the research. We should analyze the policy. Analyzing policy means that you should be able to look at existing policies that are already ending, analyzing them in a way that is going to advise you on what to do next, so that you don't repeat the mistake of the past. So policy analysis is very important if we want to really change the development trajectory of our country. If you don't analyze the policies, you have for example, you have the National Development Plan that ended last year. Have we thoroughly analyzed this development plan to advise us on the next steps, on what should be done, on what should have been avoided? So that's very important. And this is also an area where we have the capacity to do. And then next we have strategic communication, which is very important. Sometimes we call it effective communications. This is very important if we want to align our actions, align our visions, align our aspirations. How can you shape, I would say, the opinion? How can you communicate to stakeholders in a manner that they understand what you want to do? Because unless somebody understands what you want, he can't help you, or he can participate effectively. So
communication has to be effective and strategic.
Very strategic and very effective.
More sure, especially with government. Recently we had criticisms or even advice of government communication strategy. Poor communication strategy in view of the fact that the government will have to need sometimes to go over, try to clarify or limit the damage of what has already been communicated.
Yes, I think those are examples that we need to focus more on strategic and effective communication. If a minister, or if the president, or if an important public official, being a managing director of a government institution, wants to communicate to the public, they need to be strategic in their communication. What do they want to convey? What is the intention of the communication? And they should anticipate what should be the impact. If you put all of this into account, you are able to communicate better. And also, you need to be able to also choose the timing of communication. How frequent, and what particular circumstances.
Should it not also be driven by necessity. Like
exactly. That's what I say. What circumstances?
When to say what and what
exactly.
what time.
Circumstances. And that's why it's even important that institutions have what you call a communication plan. Because communication plan will also detail out how to roll out a communication message in terms of even disasters. When disaster occurs, how should you mobilize communication? How should you communicate? Who should be the entry point? Who should answer to questions? How all of the communication development and delivery should be done. Should be in that plan. So what it's sad to say that a lot of agencies exist without a communication plan. If there is a disaster, for example, or there is an emergency, you scramble on what to do, how to approach the
situation.
Media.
Yeah.
Should you call a press conference? Should you do a press release? Should you go to the radio? Should you go to the TV for a live panel? All of these things need to be taught before it happens.
Before it happens, yeah.
But we don't.
Just jump.
We should not be in a reactive mode.
I see.
We should be proactive in our way of communication. And sometimes what we see is there is a lot of reactive communication than proactive communication.
Yeah. I see. That's important.
And then the last thing is implementation of projects.
Okay, there has been a lot of problems with implementing projects in the Gambia.
So that's also something that we have the capacity to collaborate with institutions, both in the public and then the private sector, to implement projects for them. If they want to undertake I would say revolutionary changes in their organization. They want to because projects are investments that are supposed to deliver or that are supposed to bring about a result or should be able to bring about a change.
A difference to them.
A difference in the organization. So you want to undertake a change or you want to have a particular development resource in the organization or for society. We can partner with you to be able to realize such a vision for you. So I think these are the dimensions in which we operate. We also call on partners to know that this is our expertise, and then we are happy to collaborate with institutions both in government and outside government to be able to realize the development potentials of this country.
Well, Mamadou Touré, President of the Gambia Center for Research and Policy Studies, thank you very much for being on the Brunch and sharing your think tank with the Gambian people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham. Pleasure that you've invited us to this popular platform.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's about it in the Brunch this week. I'm Lamin Cham, wishing you all have a great weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Cham.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. It was nice.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.